The blackened ruins of Earth stood silent under the dim light of a dying sun. Towering structures, once monuments to human ambition, lay crumbled beneath centuries of dust and decay. The Zyrek Dominion had long marked this world as a dead one, a footnote in the archives of conquest. Humanity, they claimed, had perished in its final, futile war against superior galactic forces. But now, something stirred beneath the surface. Commander Veklar stood atop a jagged outcrop, his sleek, armored form illuminated by the eerie glow of his scanning visor. The Zyrek expedition had been sent to scavenge, nothing more. A simple survey of what remained. But what they had found defied all expectations. "Commander," a subordinate called out, voice sharp with unease. "We're picking up something. Deep below. It's artificial." Veklar turned sharply. "That's impossible." The Zyrek had eradicated all traces of human civilization centuries ago. The war had been brutal but final. No survivors. No remnants. Only ghosts. The subordinate hesitated. "And there's more, sir. Energy signatures. Something is still active down there." Veklar's elongated fingers tightened around his rifle. If the readings were accurate, it meant that something human had survived. He gestured toward his strike team. "We're going in." The underground entrance was buried beneath layers of rubble, but the Zyrek's advanced excavation tools tore through effortlessly. What lay beyond was a bunker, its reinforced metal walls scorched but intact. Markings in faded Terran script lined the corridors. Veklar, though unfamiliar with the human language, recognized the symbols for what they were: warnings. The air was thick with age, the scent of metal and decay clinging to every surface. The Zyrek soldiers moved cautiously, their rifles sweeping the shadows. "Scan everything," Veklar ordered. "I want to know what we're dealing with." The answer came faster than expected. A console flickered to life as one of the soldiers inadvertently triggered a pressure plate. A voice filled the chamber, static-laced, hollow, but unmistakably human. Final log. If you are hearing this, then humanity is not gone. And we do not forgive. The Zyrek barely had time to react before the bunker came alive. The walls hissed as ancient machinery powered on. Panels slid open, revealing turrets that had not seen use in centuries. The first shots rang out before the Zyrek could flee. Chaos erupted. Plasma fire blazed through the corridor as Veklar's squad scrambled for cover. Automated defenses, their targeting systems still functional, cut down 2 Zyrek instantly. "Fall back!" Veklar bellowed, his mind racing. This was no ordinary ruin, it was a trap A distress beacon activated somewhere within the bunker. It pulsed with a deep, mechanical hum, its signal piercing through the planet's atmosphere and shooting into the void beyond. Veklar's breath caught in his throat. "What is that signal transmitting?" he demanded. One of his soldiers, hunched over a portable scanner, looked up with horror. "It's sending a wake-up call, Commander. To something out there." A cold realization settled over Veklar. The galaxy had long believed humanity was dead. But something had survived. And now, it was waking up. The ground trembled as the last remnants of the bunker's defenses powered down. The once quiet chamber was now a maelstrom of flashing lights and the echoes of collapsing walls. Commander Veklar stood motionless, surveying the aftermath. His soldiers were shaken, their faces twisted in disbelief. The ancient human technology had come to life with the fury of a wounded beast, and it was clear, humanity's legacy was far from gone. Veklar quickly regained his composure. His mission had been to scan the planet for any useful resources, not to unravel the mysteries of a long-forgotten civilization. But now, the discovery of an operational distress beacon, paired with the strange signals it had sent, demanded a new focus. His instincts screamed that the galaxy was about to face something far worse than what they had believed. "Commander," one of his officers spoke, voice tense. The beacon's signal has already left Earth's orbit. It's broadcasting at full power. Veklar nodded. It was too late to stop it now. The galaxy was already on edge from the rise of other alien species, and this would send ripples across every corner of known space. Aboard the human sleeper ship, Sovereign's Hope. Far from Earth, deep within the asteroid fields of the Helix expanse, a long-forgotten cryostasis chamber came to life. The hissing sound of thawing liquid filled the vast silence of the dormant vessel. Inside, Captain Elias Ward, leader of the Earth's final fleet, stirred as his body slowly returned to life. Ward's mind, clouded with disorientation, slowly focused. He had been in cryostasis for over 200 years. His mission, along with the rest of humanity's final survivors, had been simple: survive the war against the Zyrek Dominion and wait. Wait until the threat had passed, until Earth could be reclaimed. But now, as he sat up and glanced at the cryochamber's console, he understood, something had gone wrong. Status report, Ward muttered hoarsely. His AI assistant, a soft female voice known only as Ava, responded, the artificial intelligence's tone calm yet filled with urgency. Captain, the distress signal has been activated. It appears to be originating from Earth. Ward's brow furrowed. Earth? Yes, sir. The planet was believed to be uninhabitable. The signal indicates human activity. Ward's heart skipped a beat. Humanity had been written off, forgotten by most of the galaxy. To think that someone, somewhere, had survived, that they were calling out to the universe, was a revelation, one that demanded action. Ava, prepare the ship for departure, Ward ordered, his voice now resolute. We're going home. Back on Earth, Veklar and his team had only just begun to assess the damage done by the ancient automated defenses. The human technology was unlike anything they had encountered before. Primitive, yet impossibly advanced, it was clear that the Zyrek Dominion had vastly underestimated Earth's ingenuity. What should we do, Commander? One of the soldiers asked, voice tinged with uncertainty. Veklar hesitated. His initial belief that the human threat was long gone had been shattered. Now, he needed to think strategically. Earth was no longer just a dead world. It was a starting point for something far greater. Prepare for further exploration, Veklar instructed. And send word to the fleet. We need to know more. Humanity is no longer a myth. They are real, and they are dangerous. In deep space, the first stirrings of human ships began to take form. The cryostasis survivors, separated across dozens of ships hidden in asteroid fields, moons, and derelict space stations, began to awaken. These humans had been waiting for the right moment to return. But now, that moment had arrived. As Captain Ward navigated his ship through the asteroid belt, a massive ship, one that had been buried and forgotten for centuries, began its journey back toward Earth. Ward's mind raced. He knew that the Zyrek were likely already on their way to the planet. Humanity would need more than just its surviving fleet. They would need to unite the scattered remnants of Earth's last hope. We're not the only ones, Ward whispered to himself, as the view of the distant, barren Earth filled his ship's view screen. It's time to show the galaxy who we are. The final pieces of humanity's greatest puzzle were falling into place. The Zyrek Dominion had thought that humanity's death had been inevitable. Now, with each passing moment, the threat humanity posed became more undeniable. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would remember the power of humanity. The Zyrek fleet was assembling just outside Earth's orbit, their enormous warships casting shadows on the distant planet below. Commander Veklar paced restlessly in the control room of his flagship, his mind racing. The information he had gathered on Earth was unsettling, but the full scale of the threat hadn't yet been revealed. The human technology, both ancient and advanced, had been dormant for centuries, but it was now active again, and it was far more dangerous than they had anticipated. Commander, the voice of his communications officer snapped him out of his thoughts. We've detected more ships, human vessels. They're emerging from the asteroid fields around the Helix Expanse. Veklar's brow furrowed. The Helix Expanse was one of the farthest reaches of known space, a place where few had dared to venture. The fact that humanity had managed to build and hide ships there, without any of the galaxy's powers noticing, was an impressive feat. He'd underestimated them before. Now, he was paying the price. "Prepare the fleet," Veklar ordered, his voice cool but edged with urgency. "We'll meet them head-on. Let's see what these humans have been hiding all these years." Aboard the Sovereign's Hope. Captain Elias Ward stood at the helm of the Sovereign's Hope, his fingers gripping the console in front of him. The ship had seen better days, but it was still functional, a symbol of humanity's determination to survive. Beside him, Ava, the ship's AI, continued to monitor the ships emerging from the shadows of the asteroid belt. "We're picking up more ships," Ava reported. "Human ships, Captain. They're all following the same course, heading toward Earth." Ward's gaze remained fixed on the viewscreen. The darkened planet loomed ahead, but what concerned him more was the Zyrek fleet that was quickly approaching. The Zyrek had underestimated humanity before, but that was a mistake they wouldn't make twice. "We need to strike first," Ward said, his voice calm and measured. "Coordinate with the other ships. We'll hit them hard before they have a chance to regroup." The human fleet, though small compared to the Zyrek forces, was a force to be reckoned with. Ward's tactical mind quickly devised a plan. With their advantage of surprise and their knowledge of the terrain, humanity had a chance, perhaps their only chance, to send the Zyrek packing. The battle begins. The Zyrek warships loomed large in the darkness of space as their engines roared to life. But even as their massive hulls surged toward Earth, they were unaware of the trap being set for them. As the first of the human ships emerged from the asteroid field, they immediately launched a series of coordinated missile strikes, targeting the Zyrek's most vulnerable spots. For the first time in centuries, the Zyrek fleet found itself on the defensive. The impact was devastating. Despite their advanced technology, they weren't prepared for the ferocity and guerrilla tactics employed by the humans. Veklar barked orders as his ship shook from the blast. "Return fire. We can't let them escape." But it was already too late. The humans had outmaneuvered them. Ships darted in and out of range, launching hit-and-run attacks that left the Zyrek disoriented and struggling to adapt. The hidden strength of humanity. As the battle raged, Veklar began to realize just how far humanity had evolved since its supposed extinction. The Zyrek had believed that the remnants of Earth were nothing more than a forgotten relic, but they were wrong. Humanity had adapted, using every resource at its disposal to fight back. "Commander, the human fleet is deploying something," one of the officers reported. "It's some kind of prototype ship." Veklar's eyes narrowed. "Prototype? What are they using?" The viewscreen flickered to life, showing a sleek, agile vessel tearing through the Zyrek defenses. It wasn't like anything the Zyrek had ever seen, light, fast, and capable of evading even the most precise fire. The prototype ship engaged the Zyrek flagship directly, firing devastating blasts that sent shockwaves through the larger ship's hull. The Zyrek fleet was disorganized. With the sudden onslaught of advanced human ships, they were struggling to keep up. Even their superior numbers couldn't compensate for humanity's tactical ingenuity. Veklar clenched his fists. He had underestimated them. He would not make that mistake again. The moment of truth. As the battle continued to unfold in real time, Ward stood on the bridge of the Sovereign's Hope, watching the display of destruction as his ships tore through the Zyrek defenses. The humans had faced countless setbacks over the centuries, but now they had their moment to shine. "We've got them on the ropes," Ward said, his voice filled with a quiet determination. "But this isn't over. Keep pushing. We're going to finish what we started." The Zyrek fleet was reeling. Their once unshakable dominance was now in question. But for Ward and his crew, this was just the beginning. Humanity was no longer the forgotten race. They had returned. And they would never again be written off as extinct. The battle for Earth's survival raged on in the cold emptiness of space. The Zyrek Dominion, once confident in its unchallenged supremacy, now found itself on the defensive, facing an enemy that had been presumed extinct. The human fleet, though smaller and more scattered, fought with the ferocity of a species that had been pushed to the brink of extinction. Commander Veklar stood in the command center of his flagship, his eyes narrowing as his warships fired back at the relentless human assault. The Zyrek fleet, once a fearsome and invincible force, now appeared weak and disjointed. His officers scrambled to coordinate a response, but it was clear that humanity had caught them off guard. "Commander, their tactics are unlike anything we've encountered," a tactical officer reported. "They're using the environment, asteroid fields, gravitational anomalies, to mask their movements. We're having trouble locking onto their positions." Veklar's jaw clenched. The Zyrek were used to being the predators, but now, for the first time in centuries, they were the prey. "Deploy the interceptors. I want every last one of their ships locked onto," he barked. "We'll crush them before they can regroup." Aboard the Sovereign's Hope. Captain Elias Ward stood at the heart of the human fleet, his fingers moving rapidly across the controls of the Sovereign's Hope. The ship rocked slightly as it weaved through a barrage of Zyrek plasma fire. The battle had reached a fever pitch, but Ward was calm, focused. The humans were playing a dangerous game, but for the first time in centuries, they were winning. "Status report, Ava," Ward demanded, his eyes fixed on the swirling chaos unfolding outside the view screen. "We've destroyed 2 of their capital ships, Captain," Ava responded, her voice a beacon of calm amidst the chaos. "But their reinforcements are arriving. We won't be able to keep this up much longer without risking a full-scale engagement. They're adapting." Ward's expression hardened. "We can't afford to let up. We need to make a statement." He turned to his communications officer. "Prepare the secondary fleet. I want the first strike launched immediately." The secondary fleet was humanity's final ace in the hole. Hidden deep within the debris fields of the asteroid belt, a series of advanced human warships, long-forgotten prototypes from the earliest days of the war, had been reactivated. These ships were equipped with cutting-edge weaponry, designed for precision strikes and devastating ambushes. Now, they would be humanity's first blow in their bid for galactic survival. The Zyrek counterattack. As the battle outside Earth's orbit escalated, Veklar watched in growing frustration as his fleet was slowly whittled down. The human ships had proven unexpectedly resilient, their tactics relentlessly disruptive. He had underestimated them, but he would not make that mistake again. "Initiate Phase 2, Veklar ordered. We need to break their line before they can regroup. Launch the dreadnoughts. Our heavy ships will crush them." The Zyrek's dreadnoughts, massive, heavily armed ships, began their descent toward Earth's atmosphere. Veklar knew the moment the massive vessels entered the fray, it would force the human fleet to scatter. Then, they would have an opening. But just as the dreadnoughts prepared to engage, a new signal flashed across the Zyrek command center screens. Veklar's eyes widened. "Commander, we're picking up an anomaly," one of his officers shouted. "A fleet, human ships, are emerging from the asteroid fields, and they're armed for full engagement." Veklar's heart raced as a swarm of highly advanced human ships appeared on his fleet's radar. Their design was sleek and unfamiliar, a far cry from the simple, rudimentary ships that humans had used before. These were war machines, designed with one purpose: destruction. The first strike. The human fleet launched its coordinated attack with precision. The Zyrek had no time to react as the first wave of human ships dove into the heart of the battle. These ships were equipped with missile arrays that locked onto the Zyrek dreadnoughts, their powerful warheads tearing into the Zyrek's massive hulls. Within seconds, one of the dreadnoughts erupted in a brilliant flash of light, the shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. "Direct hit." "One dreadnought down," shouted one of Ward's officers. Ward's eyes remained fixed on the view screen. The human fleet wasn't just fighting for survival, they were fighting to reclaim their place in the galaxy. "We need to hit them harder," Ward muttered to himself, his grip tightening on the control panel. Send in the next wave. The secondary fleet moved in, engaging the remaining Zyrek ships. The humans fought like a swarm of locusts, quick, agile, and relentless. The Zyrek, despite their numerical superiority, couldn't keep up with the speed and precision of the human ships. In just moments, several more dreadnoughts fell, their immense forms disintegrating into the void. But the battle wasn't over. The Zyrek weren't defeated yet. They still had the numbers. And now, more reinforcements were on their way. The turning point. Veklar watched the devastation unfold. His fleet had been staggered, but not broken. The human strike had been a success, but it was still too early to declare victory. "We will not let them take Earth," he muttered under his breath, his eyes locked on the view screen as the last remnants of his fleet regrouped. This fight is far from over. Ward, too, knew that the first strike was just that, a first step. Humanity had won the day, but they had a long war ahead of them. The battle for Earth had only just begun. The aftermath of the initial battle left both sides battered and bruised. Humanity had struck a decisive blow against the Zyrek Dominion, but the Zyrek were far from defeated. The surviving warships had retreated, licking their wounds and recalibrating their strategies. Meanwhile, Captain Elias Ward stood at the helm of the Sovereign's Hope, his mind heavy with the weight of the victory. The first strike had been successful, but it had come at a cost. "Captain, we've sustained significant damage to our hull," Ava's voice cut through his thoughts. "We've lost 2 of the secondary fleet ships. They've been destroyed in the fight." Ward nodded grimly. "I know. But we still have the momentum. And we can't afford to lose it." His eyes fixed on the view screen. Earth hung in the distance, scarred by the battle but still standing. The Zyrek had retreated, but their retreat was temporary. Ward knew the Zyrek weren't just planning to leave Earth in peace, they were regrouping, preparing for a counteroffensive. "We need reinforcements," Ward muttered. "We'll be fighting an all-out war soon. We can't do this alone." The Zyrek's response. Back in the Zyrek fleet's command center, Veklar fumed. The damage humanity had inflicted on his forces was significant, but it was not irreversible. His fleet had retreated to the outskirts of the Earth system to lick its wounds, but he was determined to turn the tide in favor of the Zyrek. The humans' audacity in striking at his fleet had ignited a fire within him. They had caught him off guard once, but it would not happen again. "Prepare the full fleet for a counterattack," Veklar barked. "I want the humans crushed before they can gain more ground. We'll destroy them and erase their presence from the galaxy for good." The Zyrek had superior numbers, and they were not afraid to use them. Veklar's dreadnoughts, damaged but still formidable, would lead the charge, flanked by a new fleet of reinforcements. They would come at humanity with everything they had, no more surprises, no more mercy. Humanity's new hope. Back on Earth, Commander Veklar wasn't the only one planning for the next battle. The Sovereign's Hope was not alone in its efforts. As news of humanity's survival spread across the galaxy, more sleeper ships began to wake from their long slumber. These ships, scattered in hidden locations across the galaxy, carried the last remnants of humanity. And now, they were ready to fight. Captain Ward gathered his commanders in the war room of the Sovereign's Hope, their faces grim but determined. The battle had shifted in humanity's favor, but the Zyrek were a relentless foe. If humanity was to win this war, it needed more than just tactical brilliance, it needed unity. "We've won a battle, but the war is just beginning," Ward said, his voice steady. "We cannot fight this war alone. We need to unite the human fleets, consolidate our forces, and strike back at the Zyrek with everything we've got." One of the commanders, a veteran from the Titan fleet, stood and nodded. "I agree, Captain. We need to re-establish contact with the other fleets. Bring everyone under one banner. If we do this together, we can end this war." Ward's eyes sharpened as he looked around the room. The faces before him were weary, but the fire of determination burned bright in each one. Humanity had been pushed to the edge, but now, it was rising once again. Then let's get to work. We're going to need all the help we can get. The reunification of humanity. The task of uniting humanity's scattered fleets was no small feat, but it was necessary if they were to face the Zyrek Dominion head-on. Ward's call for unity reverberated through the galaxy. Slowly, the fragmented remnants of Earth's once great fleets began to join forces, sending ships from distant sectors to rendezvous with the Sovereign's hope. The reunification was a bittersweet moment. Many ships were lost in transit, and some fleets had been scattered beyond recovery. But the survivors knew that this was their last chance. If they failed to unite, humanity's resistance would be crushed. But if they succeeded, they would have a fighting chance against the Zyrek. Ward stood at the helm of the Sovereign's Hope once more, now flanked by an armada of human ships, their weapons primed and their resolve unwavering. They were no longer the underdogs. They had proven that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with the galaxy's most powerful forces. And now, they would show the Zyrek the true cost of underestimating humanity. "We are not the last remnants of a fallen species," Ward declared to his assembled fleet. "We are the future. And we will fight until the last breath to secure it." The gathering storm. As the human fleets gathered, the Zyrek fleet began its final push toward Earth. Their massive warships advanced, each one more dangerous than the last, their weapons poised to strike. But the humans were ready. Earth would no longer be a footnote in galactic history. It would be the battleground for a war that would echo across the stars. The tides of war had shifted. Humanity's fight for survival had become a fight for supremacy. The dark expanse of space was filled with the hum of distant warships and the crackle of comms. The final battle for Earth had begun, and it was a spectacle that would change the course of history. The human fleets, now unified and stronger than ever, formed a massive formation around the planet. The Sovereign's Hope, Captain Elias Ward's flagship, led the charge. Behind it, hundreds of ships, large and small, positioned themselves for the coming storm. The air was thick with anticipation. "We've got them, Captain." Ava, the ship's AI, said, her voice calm yet charged with a hint of urgency. "Zyrek fleet is coming in fast. They're ready to make their move." Ward nodded grimly, his eyes scanning the readouts. The Zyrek fleet, vast and imposing, was now within striking distance. It was the moment they had been preparing for, the storm that would either crush humanity or solidify their place in the galaxy. He glanced at his tactical officers. "Ready all weapons," Ward ordered. "We're not just going to hold Earth, we're going to send the Zyrek packing. This is our time." The Zyrek charge. Commander Veklar stood at the helm of his flagship, the Zyrek Devastator, watching as his ships advanced toward Earth. The sight of the human fleets, united and resolute, filled him with a sense of dark anticipation. He had underestimated the humans before, and now, he was prepared to make sure that they would pay for it. The Zyrek fleet, though larger and more heavily armed, was built for direct confrontation. They had superior numbers, and their ships were equipped with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Yet, Veklar couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to this human force, something that made them more dangerous than they seemed. "Prepare for the first assault," Veklar commanded, his voice tinged with malice. "We will crush them under the weight of our firepower." The Zyrek ships fired their weapons in a deadly salvo, unleashing a torrent of plasma fire that lit up the darkness of space. The first wave of Zyrek fire slammed into the human fleets, but the humans were ready. Their ships moved swiftly, dodging and weaving through the oncoming fire. "Deploy countermeasures," Ward barked, his voice steady and commanding. "Let's give them a taste of their own medicine." The battle for Earth. The battle erupted into chaos as the two fleets collided. Zyrek warships unleashed their full might, firing massive beams of energy that ripped through space. The human ships, agile and smaller, darted around the incoming fire, using their speed to their advantage. Humanity's ships were not as powerful as the Zyrek dreadnoughts, but they were strategic, fighting with precision and calculated moves. The first wave of human ships retaliated with rapid-fire missile strikes, hitting the Zyrek dreadnoughts with pinpoint accuracy. The Zyrek Devastator, the flagship of Veklar's fleet, took several hits, its shields buckling under the force of the assault. Veklar's face twisted in fury as his flagship groaned under the pressure. "Focus fire on that human ship," Veklar ordered, slamming his fist into the command console. "We must not let them get any closer to Earth." But despite the Zyrek's overwhelming firepower, the humans continued to press forward. Their ships darted in and out of the fray, using the asteroid fields and debris from destroyed warships to hide their movements and surprise the enemy with sudden attacks. It was guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale, and it was taking its toll on the Zyrek. Ward watched the chaos unfold on the viewscreen. His fleet was outnumbered, but it was far from powerless. He knew that tactical genius would be their greatest weapon. "Stay on them," Ward shouted over the comms, watching his ships maneuver around the enemy. "We have to outlast them. They may be stronger, but we're smarter." Turning the tide. The battle seemed endless. Each exchange of fire, each near miss, only served to fuel the fire within the human fleet. The Zyrek fleet was vast, but their tactics were rigid and predictable. The human fleet was far more dynamic, moving in ways the Zyrek hadn't anticipated. For every blast the Zyrek fired, a human ship would evade, strike, and retreat, only to re-engage moments later from a different angle. In the heart of the battle, a bold move was unfolding. Captain Ward knew the Zyrek flagship, the Zyrek Devastator, was the key to breaking the battle. If they could take it down, the rest of the fleet would crumble in disarray. He turned to his tactical officers. "Send in the attack ships. We're going after the Devastator." A special squadron of human warships, equipped with stealth technology and advanced high-powered torpedoes, prepared to launch a direct assault on the Zyrek flagship. The attack was risky, but it was their best chance to tip the scales. The final push. The human fleet surged forward, led by the Sovereign's Hope, firing on all cylinders. The Zyrek fleet fought back viciously, but the tide was turning. As the special squadron closed in on the Zyrek Devastator, the flagship of the Zyrek fleet faltered. Veklar's voice rang through the chaos as his fleet tried to regroup. "No! You will not take my ship!" But it was already too late. With a devastating strike, the human torpedoes slammed into the heart of the Zyrek Devastator, triggering a chain reaction that split the ship in half. The flagship of the Zyrek fleet was no more. The remaining Zyrek ships hesitated, their morale shattered. The human fleet, emboldened by their victory, pressed the attack with renewed ferocity. The storm subsides. As the Zyrek fleet began to retreat, Ward allowed himself a moment of quiet triumph. The battle for Earth was far from over, but this victory had proven one thing: humanity was no longer a forgotten species. They had claimed their place in the galaxy, and the Zyrek would know it. "Victory is ours today," Ward said, his voice resolute. "But we must be ready for what comes next." The storm had broken, but the war was far from over. The Zyrek retreat was swift, their once mighty fleet scattering like leaves in a storm. Humanity had proven its might, and the battle for Earth was over, for now. But the aftermath was bittersweet. The cost had been high. Thousands of ships had been lost, and countless lives had been sacrificed. Yet, despite the destruction, humanity stood victorious. The Sovereign's Hope, the flagship of the human fleet, drifted in the silence of space, its hull scarred but still intact. Captain Elias Ward stood at the command deck, staring out at the vast expanse of stars that lay beyond. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Humanity had just fought its first battle in a galaxy that had long forgotten them. But now, they had a foothold. And from that foothold, they would rebuild. "We did it, Captain," Ava's voice crackled through the comms. "The Zyrek fleet is retreating, and Earth is safe, for now." Ward nodded slowly, his thoughts lingering on the wreckage of the battle. The Zyrek had underestimated them, but they would learn, just as the humans had. The cost of this victory was high, but it had forged something stronger than the sum of its parts: humanity's resolve. "We've only just begun, Ava," Ward replied quietly. The Zyrek will be back, and we need to be ready. But today, we've made a statement. The galaxy knows humanity is here. The first steps toward rebuilding. As the human fleets began to regroup and assess the damage, efforts to rebuild commenced immediately. The survivors of the battle gathered in orbit around Earth, their numbers swelling as fleets from across the galaxy made their way to Earth's orbit. The human alliances, once fractured, lost, and forgotten, were now a force to be reckoned with. Humanity had done the impossible. They had survived an extinction-level event, rebuilt their shattered civilization, and now, they had victoriously repelled a galactic empire. The war, however, had only just begun. Veklar, though wounded, would return with a vengeance, but humanity had already proven its worth. "We need to fortify our position," General Lin, one of the commanders from Earth's military, said as she addressed the council. "We've made a powerful enemy today, but we've shown them that we won't be easily broken. We need to focus on expansion and fortification." Captain Ward, standing at the head of the council, gave a grim nod. "We will need allies. The Zyrek aren't the only ones who've been watching us. But for now, we must consolidate our position. Earth must be defended, and we will take the fight to anyone who dares threaten us." The room fell silent. Humanity had proven itself on the battlefield, but now came the hard part, sustaining this momentum. Humanity's alliances. In the days that followed, emissaries from distant human colonies arrived at Earth's orbit. Some were survivors from the old fleet, those who had escaped the Zyrek onslaught and fled to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Others were long-forgotten sleeper ships, now returning to Earth's fold. But it was the newly reformed Human Council that would take the lead in determining Earth's future. They called upon former allies, distant human colonies, and even a few alien factions that had witnessed humanity's rise with cautious admiration. The United Human Front, as they were now known, was born out of necessity, but it quickly became something more. The galaxy had underestimated humanity's will to survive, and that was a mistake they would not make again. Ward knew that the alliances they forged now would be the backbone of Earth's resurgence. The question was, could they withstand the pressure of new enemies on the horizon? Or would the galaxy try to crush the unified human force before it could grow too powerful? The Zyrek's vow of revenge. Though the battle had been won, the war was far from over. The Zyrek Dominion had retreated, but their pride had been shattered. Commander Veklar, nursing his wounded fleet and his bruised ego, vowed that humanity's victory would be short-lived. "We will return," Veklar growled, his voice filled with venom. "They think they can stand against the might of the Zyrek Dominion, but they will learn the cost of defiance." Veklar's warships limped back into Zyrek-controlled space, but the seeds of his vengeance were already being sown. The Zyrek were a proud species, and nothing stung more than the loss of a battle they had considered a sure victory. Humanity's unstoppable rise. Despite the Zyrek's promises of retaliation, humanity's strength and resilience were undeniable. Over the next few years, Earth transformed from a forgotten planet on the fringe of galactic space into the heart of a burgeoning empire. Human ingenuity, once thought of as a relic of the past, had proven its worth. And now, it was the foundation of a new age. As human ships began to venture further into the galaxy, seeking new alliances and forging their path among the stars, the message was clear: humanity would not be forgotten. The galaxy was now theirs to shape. Captain Elias Ward stood at the helm of the Sovereign's Hope, gazing out into the stars. The war had been brutal, but it had forged something that could never be taken away: humanity's place in the cosmos. "We're just getting started," Ward said, his voice steady and resolute. "The Zyrek may think we're extinct, but they're wrong. Humanity's future is brighter than ever." And with that, the human fleet began its journey forward, ready to conquer whatever lay ahead. The dawn of a new age had arrived.